Yes, hello friends and investors. This is Amun Ray and welcome back to my channel. And for today's episode for Home Talk, we'll be talking about some of the latest news around the world. And we have here from Rappler, I chat on our YouTube channel, Philippines overtakes Indonesia. Now highest COVID-19 cases in ASEAN, or the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So this was posted about 2 days ago in their channel. So for COVID-19 cases in the Philippines as of Thursday, August 6th, we have 3,561 new cases, which brings the total to 118 and 460 more or less cases. Wow, that's a lot. And for Indonesia, new cases of 1,882 as of August 6th. And PH coronavirus cases may reach 150,000 by August 31, as said by experts in the Philippines. Imagine that's 150,000 in the Philippines. Especially that more tests are being conducted in the Philippines nationally, and more PCR laboratories are being opened and are becoming operational already in the country. So they now use the reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction, or RT-PCR, which is said to be more effective than any other test for COVID-19. And of course, they will go to select groups of people or communities will be for the swabbing of their specimens. And here is another news from Russia with love. Russia nag-alok na bibigyan ang Pilipinas ng COVID-19 vaccine. So Russia is offering to give the Philippines COVID-19 vaccines whenever it becomes available. So there, it's a good news for the Philippines, because as we can remember from the last son of the president last July 27, 2020, that was a Monday, and I think I made a reaction or like a brief summary of that State of the Nation address of our President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. At least for that, in that sauna, he pleaded to China that we can be one of the first countries to be given the vaccine for the coronavirus, and that's through credit. And now it was a day ago. It's posted on the channel of PTV. At least it's a very reliable channel. It's PTV. They also have a news channel on cable TV. It said that Russia is offering vaccine to the Philippines. So according to the Ambassador Igor Kovaev, Russian ambassador to the Philippines, we have three options for cooperation. First, clinical trials, if our Philippine partners consider it necessary. The second option, we are ready to supply the vaccine to the Philippines. And the third option is local production of vaccine here in Philippine soil. So, yeah, for the option, they will work with the Philippine government so that the vaccine can be produced locally in the Philippines. Then, the DFA, or Department of Foreign Affairs of the Philippines, conveys its appreciation for Russia's willingness to assist the Philippines in its fight against COVID-19, as well as its offer to supply the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine developed by NF, Gamaleya of the Ministry of Health of the Russian Federation. According to Yusek Maria Rosario Singh Vergere, the spokesperson of the Department of Health, the anti-flu drug na Avigan mula Japan naman, it's Avigan, dumating na rin sa bansa. So it's from Japan. That was 1 day ago. Yes. And the Philippines is, of course, nakikilahok sa solidarity trial ng World Health Organization, or WHO. Then, in another news, Singapore's COVID-19 cases crossed 55,000 mark with 175 new infections. That was about 7 hours when I checked their channel of channelnewsasia.com, or CNA. I think, yes, they also have a cable channel on TV. So this is basically the written form of the news on their website, channelnewsasia.com. So yes, it's a very shocking for Singapore to cross this 55,000 mark with 175 new infections. And a while ago, I just told you from Rappler's news that the Philippines already has over 150,000 cases, COVID-19 cases. So check some of the hottest headlines here on CNA or Channel News Asia. So there, Singapore celebrates National Day with a nod to COVID-19 frontliners. What else? Healthcare workers celebrate National Day parade comes to the heartlands, still in Singapore. So there's a lot of news here from Singapore, since Singapore is like the target economy in Southeast Asia, in Asia as well. That's why we have a lot of news about Singapore in this website. Then the food stylist selling donuts with a MasterChef Singapore contestant. First look at Anna Square, the red dot of downtown Singapore. So if you've been to Singapore, I think you'll be familiar with these locations and yeah, about these areas in Singapore. I've been in Singapore for 3 times, so I can kind of relate to some of the areas, not all, of course, because I haven't lived in Singapore. I only went there for travel, although I went there for 3 times. Then Vietnam. In Vietnam, reports 31 new COVID-19 cases and 1 death. As we see, Vietnam is one of the less affected countries before of this COVID-19. But now they have 31 new COVID-19 cases with 1 death. Then um, Philippines, at least, reports 61 more COVID-19 deaths, biggest spike in 3 weeks. So we have to be more careful, Filipinos, because yeah, the virus is still, very active in the country. Then Australia's Victoria reports deadliest day of COVID-19 pandemic. In the world, U.S. begins highest level Taiwan visit in decades. Then it's a saddening news. India begins examination of plane's black box after deadly crash. U.S. Then next, Nagasaki marks 75 years since atomic bombing. So that was during the World War II. Japan's Abe to avoid visit to War-linked shrine on 75th war anniversary, according to reports. Then next, in Asia, at least 29 killed in monsoon triggered India landslide. So let's be careful, especially now it's rainy. It's raining a lot, and just a reminder for Boholanos and Filipinos out there to be careful, especially when you're going for a trip to waterfalls, because water might there's like flooding, especially if there's heavy rain in some mountain areas, and it will get through some waterfalls, so just be careful. Then next, let's check this one. There's like a lifestyle news. Experts say talking to strangers enrich lives and offer novel experiences. Well, I can attest to that as well. I like talking to strangers. You learn a lot of things from people you don't meet always, and you get to learn a lot from them as well. Health expert: older people are better positioned to cope with stresses, including this pandemic. Yeah, maybe because of the many experiences they had in their in the past years that they've been, living this world. So I guess they will be more attuned to any crisis. That's for lifestyle. Then there's a house tour, a 3-story family home in Singapore enveloped by lush gardens. So I think for now people seem to love plants already. So having lush gardens in around your house and having several indoor plants in your home, adds more aesthetics to the house, and it's like being the new normal already when it comes to home buying. And yeah, so let's go to this news. India begins examination of plane's black box after deadly crash. So the black box is like, it records some of the events prior to the crash, to a plane crash. So let's check this news because it's really, really saddening. Here, rescue workers look for survivors after a passenger plane crashed when it overshot the runway at its Kalikot International Airport in Karipur in the southern state of Kerala, India, on August 7, 2020. So this is a scary part when planes are not really maintained well, or maybe with this pandemic, some planes are held on standby, or just in the airport, and they're not. I don't know, if you don't use it regularly. I think it will bring some damage to the plane. Maybe, just maybe. So in New Delhi, Indian investigators on Sunday, August 9, began examining the black box of a Boeing 737 that overshot a runway in its second attempt, killing 18 people in the country's worst aviation accident in a decade. The Air India Express plane, which was repatriating Indians stranded in Dubai due to the coronavirus pandemic, overshot the runway of the Calicut International Airport in heavy rain near the southern city of Kozhikode on Friday. The aircraft fell into a valley and broke in half. In an interview with Reuters partner ANI on Sunday, Arun Kumar, head of India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation, said the country would open the recovered transcripts to international investigators as well as manufacturer Boeing. Only after conducting a thorough and unbiased probe can we tell what exactly happened, Kumar said. Then, the 2,700 runway of the airport is known as a tabletop, an aviation term for runways with steep drops at one or both ends. They leave little room for error should a pilot overshoot the runway, either through human error or mechanical failure. Late on Saturday, Kumar told CNN News 18 in an interview that the pilot made an aborted landing attempt into a headwind and then made a second approach with a tailwind, landing 1,000 meters down the runway. An air traffic control official familiar with the crash confirmed this version of events, adding it is unusual to attempt a landing at the airport with a tailwind, which is typically used for takeoffs. Wow, scary news. The length of the runway in Calicut is around 2,700, and the plane touched the ground after crossing 1,000 meters of the length, leaving less room to bring the aircraft to a halt. The official, who declined to be named as he is not authorized to speak to the media, told Reuters. It was windy and rainy and the runway surface was wet. In such instances, the weather is dynamic. An aircraft typically lands and departs in a headwind as a tailwind increases the plane's speed. A spokesman for Air India did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The company has already said it will pay compensation to the families of the deceased. So that's I think some of the hottest headlines for now around the globe and especially in Asia. So with the coronavirus pandemic still, bringing some spikes of cases in several countries around the world. So we need to be careful as much as possible. So do the necessary precautions when going out of your houses. Of course, it's very important to wear a mask all the time, especially in a public place. It's very crowded. But at least for Bohol and the Philippines, it is mandatory to wear face masks when you are in a public place. And then sanitize as much as possible and maintain social distancing at least 1 meter from a person. And if possible, just stay at home if you don't have any important things to do outside. So once again, those are the hottest news now. So we'll be checking day to day what are the latest news around the world, and especially in Asia and in the Philippines. So we'll be updated about what's going on around the world. Once again, this is Lemon Ray for Home Talk. Bye for now.